Hey out there, Powerheads. Welcome to the 40th episode of the original AfterShow for Power, the PowerWatch. Joining us today are B. Limis.
Hello.
Eric Everly. So we might as well get into it. I think we're all of the same consensus that this is probably one of the most exciting episodes ever. Let's get right into it. I mean, we've already talked about the intellect of Tariq, and here he's developed an app. And we don't know what that's about yet, but he's fooling with the app. And next thing you know, he gets a call. Yeah, you get that voice on the other end, and we're pretty familiar with Monet by now. And she's got the 3 crack commandments, but it's more like the 3 drug commandments. Good night out to Biggie Smalls, the original Notorious B.I.G. So basically what's happening is she has 3 rules that Tariq has to follow. One is always pay the amount discussed. The other is always be on time. And the third is always pay in cash. And she says, if that's what you roll with, then we'll be cool.
And if Biggie was still here, he would also say, if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But he's not. No, honestly, I think that, she gave him a lot of good pointers. She definitely is kind of leading him in the wrong direction. But as far as doing this in a successful manner, she's kind of leading him in the right direction. Had Ghost given Tariq that exact same speech, I don't think it would have been taken as well. I think that speech was taken much better due to the fact that it wasn't coming from Ghost. So, she gave him some sound ideas and some sound principles to live by in this game if you want to survive.
No doubt. So then we rolling from there. Tariq is always on the run. He's always late, but he's always on the run, and he's accomplishing way more than people even know. But then he's running up to go see Simon Stern. But it's not Simon Stern. It's Sebastian Gamal Stern.
Yeah, that was definitely a little bit of a curveball, and we're going to see other instances of that. I think that has a lot to do with the current environment that we live in. I think that the show's playing into the current environment that we live in, and they're doing a great job of it. But it is interesting to note that Simon Stern's husband is doing a deal behind his back. So I think that that's something that is definitely going to come about and something that's definitely going to play a major role going forward.
And this part confused me a little bit. I totally agree. I was trying to find out what role is this guy playing? Is he connecting the financial aspects to the app, or is he taking the app and making it more socially available, or what?
I think that he's being kind of like a CFO of Simon's company. And so, he's playing that role. And because he's in charge of the finances, in the short term, he's able to thus kind of finagle where the money is coming from. But I think that long term, we're going to see Simon take back some control over the situation.
No doubt. So moving forward, he's going ahead and he's going back to class. He's finding out about the Canonical Studies Fellowship. And while that's going on there, I mean, this is the thing that we were talking about from the very beginning. So I kind of thought this was already done with, that everybody in the Canonical Study was part of the 3-year plan, but I guess not.
First of all, Canonical Studies is starting to sound a little bit closer to carnal studies. Just the way that everybody is kind of being involved with each other. So I don't know if that was, I don't know if that's intentional. Knocking Boots 101. Graduating 3 years.
So they find out what's going on, and Lauren goes ahead and she tries to approach Jabari, and Jabari, of course, he's getting all nervous and sweaty under the collar because he's like, oh, I get to smash another student of mine. And your girl knows his game, Professor Ewott, Vanessa Williams with a tan, Professor Milberg, and she's peeped him and she's like, oh, here this dude goes again. And then they talk about, oh, come over for dinner. And then he's like, yeah, where? And then he's like, my parents' house. He's like, oh, yeah, that would be perfect.
So I think that scene had a lot less to do with him and the other professor, but more so to do with Tariq and her. We all felt that there was definitely an emotion there between Tariq and her. So I think that was more so angled to, one, bring about the initial beginnings of her and Tariq's intimacy. And also it was used to show that, as you like to call her, VWAT, although we know she's an addict, she exerted her power over him in that scenario. At the dinner party, we really saw the tension. Really, I mean, you could almost cut it with a butter knife between the two professors. And then when Tariq and she left, it was like, wow, okay, are we about to see the beginning and the buddings of this potential relationship that we've all been thinking? And then we saw one little bit of inkling of it when they kissed, and then her boyfriend walked in the door. Yeah,
Malcolm. With the flowers. It's like, oh boy. And then he's loved and adored by the entire family and whatnot. She wasn't really feeling him, obviously, because she had eyes for Tariq from the very beginning.
Let me say this. I think that the greatest thing that could have happened is that the flower shops were closed, because Tariq wanted to get those flowers, but I think that it would have sent the wrong message for him showing up with those flowers. I think the best thing for him to have done was not show up with those flowers.
Yep.
And sit back, be in that role right there.
Stealth mode.
Exactly. Because had he shown up with flowers, I don't think the family would have welcomed him like they did.
They were like, who is this cat? We've never even met you before.
We never met you, and you're late, and you're showing up with flowers. It's crazy. What are you doing?
But you know why that was never going to happen? Because there was a two-sided closed sign on the flower spot. We saw the view from Tariq on the outside that said closed, and then we saw from the outside that said closed. I mean, it was like, what is going on? So
it's really just a bad overall editing shot, to be blatantly honest.
Yeah.
The sign on the inside, as we all know, should have said open. The door should have been locked. Lights were off. When you flipped around, it should have said closed. That's bad editing. That's poor cinematography, to be blatantly honest. But we all kind of got the picture. I don't think that we watch this show for its amazing editing and cinematography. I think we watch it for the storyline.
But I'm like, what the F?
Yeah, because honestly, when I saw that it said closed, I said, oh, okay, cool. So it's actually open. I don't know why the door is locked. I'm like, I'd have been pulling on it too, because the other side should say open.
Well, maybe it's a metaphor.
Maybe it is.
That he's going too fast. All right, so moving forward from there, we go back to, more action again. I mean, every other scene is like some action, some fire, some something or other. We go back to the scene where Monet and Kane are walking up on Little Guap and the rest of the GGT. And they're setting them straight. And they're telling them, we're cutting you off, and we'll have to organize you if you can't get it together. And then we hear that word. What's that word, B?
Which one?
The one that they call Monet.
Puta.
Okay, what does that mean? She won't say it.
It's an itch with a B in front of it, trust me.
There you go.
We all know what it is.
Itchy B in Latin.
So the fact that he was willing to utter that, to me, shows that he felt like she was soft. She called off, quote unquote, her dogs one time, and he backed down, and then she called him a bitch. What we're seeing is that people aren't respecting her right now. I think that changed very quickly.
Very quickly. She came back and she challenged him. How you going to say that word?
She did.
Somebody whose last name is Tejada. Okay?
Say what you said again. Say it again. I dare you.
And he got out a P. Then it was the thunder and the lightning straight from the right hand of Kane.
We don't know if he was getting ready to say putt. We don't know if he was getting ready to say
pardon me.
Yeah, pardon me. Or a lot of things. What I do know is that he's going to be eating food through a straw for quite some time.
That's after they bring him back into consciousness 7 days later.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely going to be in a medically induced coma. But I know one thing for sure and two things for certain. I know that he will not be throwing that word around so loosely ever again.
There you go.
And not just in reference to her.
And then Monet has to put her icing on the cake. You beat the brakes off of him.
Yeah. It was almost like an homage to Friday. She kind of looked like,
TFO.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving forward from there, though, we get back, and somehow Tariq was able to slip out of the room. I mean, he just bolted out. So he was not trying to be part of that anymore. And that's when they get together in the room the next day. There's all these apologies all around. He's like, no, we all got options. And then Diana pops up on his phone, and she's like, who's Diana? He said, we got options.
Oh, I love that part because I really think it showed, Tariq's like, he's got complicated situations with both of them. He's got Diana on one side, who is the daughter of his supplier, which obviously that's complicated.
Don't do it.
And on the other hand, his canonical studies girlfriend has a boyfriend and also is constantly inquiring as to like what he's doing, and he can't speak on it. He's got a lot of dynamics going on right now, and neither one of his current love interests are people that, you know, he could easily be with. Both of them have their issues. I don't think either one of them's parents would welcome Tariq into their home as that boyfriend figure. I think that, you know, for different reasons, both of them would, you know, completely, you know, deny him being a part of that family.
Well, let me ask you a question on that. Lorenzo has let it be known. He wants Drew to eventually run the family. He wants Kane as the enforcer, so on and so forth. Isn't Tariq a much better version of Drew?
Let me ask you this question. Considering how distracted we saw Drew get when he was supposed to be coming to check on Tariq and gather information, do we actually believe that Drew is someone who can run this business?
No.
And it has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about in a little bit. It has everything to do with his level of being, you know, of distraction. Because someone of another orientation could be just as distracted, and I would say the same thing.
All right. So that's a perfect segue, actually, to our next little segment. And that's where we're talking about Drew. He's coming to check on Tariq. He gets caught up with Emmett. Now, I don't know if you guys remember Emmett, but Emmett was the guy that came to Zeke's defense when the white guy who played basketball, Connor, was all up in his grill and telling him he's never going to get off of academic probation. I got your spot now. Mm-hmm. So Connor has already established himself as a bit of an asshole, or as Monet referred to, a pendejo, right? There you go. So he's a bit of a pendejo. We're going to be coming back to him later, I'm pretty sure. But then, you know, they was like, the art teacher is like, oh, let your friend come in, gesturing to Drew, and Drew's walking in, and then he sees Emmett, and then next thing you know, like sparks fly and whatnot, and it ends up developing into something else. And that's why he got distracted. And that led to Diana popping up in the spot. And then Diana shows up with a supply, straight from Monet, who already knows the deal because she overheard the conversation with Drew. Diana shows up at Tariq's spot with the goods.
Right.
What else did she show up with?
Well, she shows up with something very unexpected. She shows up with her talking to Tariq, and finally they get to kiss, which is very interesting at that moment because I did not expect that to happen.
When we're coming off the heels of the other kiss, kind of obviously, you know, we've gone through 6 seasons now. We're technically in our 7th season of the writing of this show. Considering they've been giving 2 love interests the entire time, when she showed up, I was almost surprised that it only stopped at the kiss.
Okay.
I kind of thought that just due to the way that the writing showed, you know, he already had his kiss and then he was almost shunned out the door because her boyfriend shows up with flowers and he's being embraced by the family. And then, you know, we cut to a scene where Diana shows up and Diana leans in for the kiss. You know, it's kind of like, wow, that's where it stopped.
But maybe the show wants to show that Tariq is, he thinks things through. You know, he's not going to be shown as an impulsive human being. But he's going to be smarter than that. And he's going to think things through.
Well,
Tariq is definitely not that smart. First of all,
he is kind of letting like the ladies take the first step.
No.
He had already said to her, he said, well, he's like, I have a secret. Why don't you start first? He knew he was going to say the same thing. We already knew it was going to happen. The only difference is that he knew she had a boyfriend. He didn't know her boyfriend was going to show up that night, but he knew she had a boyfriend. He just wanted almost, you know, like what we talk about as far as like plausible deniability. He wanted a shield almost as far as, well, you know, she kissed me first. That's all that really was. And the only reason that I think that the kiss with Diana stopped at a kiss was because her brother knocked on the door.
You think so?
Oh, yeah, that was going to be smashing.
Have you ever seen him have sex with anybody in any of the shows? Never.
Well, he's still working out. He was saying in the interview that he was doing was that, they got me working out because they said I got love scenes coming up, so I got to get brolic.
Let me say this though. The only reason why we really haven't seen Tariq have love scenes thus far is if we really think about the fact that they're portraying Tariq as being 17 years old.
Yeah.
In the current episode. So what when you think about prior to that, when he started the show, he was 11. Because now we're in 6, if not 7. So he was 10 or 11 years old starting out. So, we're now seeing him in college. We'd be remiss to think that, we're not going to see something pan out between one, if not both, of his love interests.
Right, eventually. But I just think that Tariq is a virgin. He's never had sex before.
Oh, we know that. Yeah, he never really got the chance to smash. What's his name's Neats.
I don't think Tariq's a virgin.
Where did he get it from?
Yeah.
Where did he get it from?
I don't think Tariq's a virgin.
Okay.
What?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't think that they will.
I think you're confusing with Michael Rainey.
I don't think that they will portray him as a virgin. I don't think that either one of the two love interests right now is someone that the show is going to portray as someone he lost his virginity to.
Gotcha. So
for whatever reason, they will, not portray that as his first time.
All right. So just to do a little allude to the side, going back to Smashville, what is up with B-Wad? Because, they're going at each other like cloak and dagger during the conversation. They get into the office. She gives him what for. She tells him, how he's jacked up and everything. And she's about to leave. And she actually accuses him of smashing one of his students. And he said, which one? Which one?
She is a psychopath.
Multiple.
She is a psychopath of the best kind for him. Because she doesn't care. She's gonna yell about it. She's gonna scream about it. But at the end of the day, he's gonna get what he wants out of that situation.
He manipulated her because he turned around and he said, "I'm sorry." And as soon as he said that, she locked the door and it was Smashville again.
She's definitely not in control of her emotions. At the same time, because of that, I think that there were a lot of emotions that were, and this might be a hot take, I think that some of those emotions were actually emotions for Tariq. I think that she has a thing for Tariq, and she knows she can't have Tariq.
Last time, for sure.
She can't have Tariq. Some of the argument and some of the issues are manifesting themselves. She's portraying them onto someone else.
Definitely, that seems like that's the road she's going down. So moving forward, to me, you got to have a little bit of comedy here and there. And Braden is the funniest thing on the show. He gets with Saxon's niece, Saxon's employed her as a secret agent to go ahead and spy on Tariq, find out who he's associated with, where he's getting his money from, so they can cut it off like a faucet. But then Braden is wearing like some kind of Teletubby outfit. And Tariq sees an opportunity to go ahead and get rid of Scott, who is the drug dealer who's competing with him on the yard. So he goes ahead and he spreads the word around, and the word gets back to Scott, and they rumble. And it's the funniest thing ever because he keeps trying to flirt with her in the middle of fighting this dude who gets kicked out of the school. And it's another editing issue because he rolls out and Tariq says, "What's your deal, Scott?" And he's like, "I got suspended." But he's got all his bags. So no, you didn't get suspended, bro. You got expelled. I
think it was two things working there. I think Tariq didn't trust her one bit. That's why you saw him walk off. It was also a kind of like a costume. He was definitely dressed as Cameron. If we go back and watch the music video, he definitely had on the entire outfit. He just wasn't 6'2" and African-American. Yeah, I think Tariq used it as an opportunity for a couple of things. I think he used it as an opportunity, one, to get rid of some of the competition. And I think he also used it because he didn't trust her. And so that's why he went up there and he observed her reaction to what was going on, because he was trying to decide whether or not he could trust her.
No doubt. Yep. Now, then we get to like closing in on the end of the episode. McLean Davis is actually bringing in Blanca. He's bringing in, Tate, bringing in all these things to kind of like support his argument. But the thing that bothered me is Sachs was kind of wiggling out of that with the help of the Democratic guy, Ott, and also his boss. But one thing he didn't wiggle out of was planting that bugging device on Lisa Marie's backpack. And the judge just totally swept that under the rug, which I thought that was like the only thing that could catch him on. So I thought that should have hemmed him up right there.
It could have hemmed him up. The difference being is that case was closed. This is a current case. None of what's going on, none of the evidence that they're using, none of the, circumstantial evidence even has been obtained via that illegal wiretap. Was that wrong? Yes. Is that enough to get him recused from the case? Absolutely not, because nothing of that was used. It's, we're not dealing with, something that is, fruit of the poisonous tree.
I did want to throw a question to B. When Drew was in the shower and he was talking to Monet, and Monet discovered the sketch of the artwork he was doing on a nude guy, with a basketball thing on him, it seemed to be obvious that this was just a reminder. She already knew about his persuasion. So what did you think of the interaction and what she told him while he was in the shower?
Yeah, I mean, it's just about an unconditional love that a mother always has for their children. And so it's, you could really, really see the empathy, and also, the fact that she, Monet, really, in spite of the fact that she's a criminal, really, but you can still see that she loves her son dearly, and that she's got that unconditional love that all mothers have.
All right. So moving back to the end of the episode, I'm gonna shoot this one back at you, E. We roll to the end, and McLean Davis is boning his special investigator in bed, and he's also married. And so he's like, everybody's in some type of crazy tryst. So they throw it back her way, and they're looking at each other like, hey, what about? And then next thing you know, Tamika gets served with some flowery papers.
I think that's an interesting scenario, especially because she is completely okay with sleeping with a married man. She said, matter of fact, make sure you put your ring back on before you go home. So, she's an extremely willing participant. And I think what we're going to see is that, yeah, they did serve her with a subpoena. The problem I think that we're going to see going forward is that a lot of what she knows is subject to attorney-client privilege, and she's not going to be able to speak.
But they're going to find some way to wiggle around it, knowing McLean Davis. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for this week. Great having you here as usual. Good looking out, E. Good looking out, B. And we'll see you next week.
Hello, Powerheads. Good afternoon. I hope you enjoy the show. It was definitely a wonderful show. And so tonight, I'm going to be making some special drink, and I'm going to call it the Diana. And it's going to be with a very special bourbon made in Tennessee. Uncle Nearest, first and foremost, what we're going to be doing is taking some of these beautiful blueberries, putting them in a container, enough to have a special blueberry taste for this drink. And you mash them up. Then again, like in every drink that I make, I always tend to use lime. For some reason, lime tends to enhance the flavor of bourbon. And so lime, perhaps not too much, maybe just one squeeze of half a lime. And then what you want to do is take your jigger and take my favorite drink, which is Uncle Nearest. So you want to use 2 ounces of Uncle Nearest here for this particular drink. Since I'm going to be making an extra drink for me and for my fiance, I'm just going to use 4 ounces of this wonderful, tasty Uncle Nearest. So we're going to be using some apricot brandy, okay, about 2 ounces of that. And you add it to your drink. And that's going to add this beautiful fruity flavor when you mix it with the blueberries. Then you're going to use some ice, and you're going to make it really nice and cold. And you give it a nice little shake, this particular drink. And you know what I do? What do I do when I give a shake? Yeah, some salsa. And so then you're going to use the best cocktail glasses that you can find in your kitchen. Something clear like this so that you can see all of the different colors. Beautiful, as you can see. It looks like a rosé, but it's not. The flavor is going to be even better than a rosé. And again, it's not going to be for one person. So don't get me wrong. It's going to be for me and my fiance. Now, which one do you think I'm going to be drinking? Of course, this one, right? Just kidding. So we're going to add some seltzer to the drink as well, just to add that fizzy flavor to it. And then you're going to add a little bit of ice. Garnish it. Then when you finish, you can actually garnish it with some of those beautiful big blueberries that we found here right around the corner from our house. So I want to say to you, cheers and enjoy the rest of the show.
Hey, Powerheads. Here's my favorite time of the show again, question and answers. First up, we got Brian from the DMV.
Hey, Powerheads. So it's Brian from the DMV. I'm back again. So they served Tamika with the flowers and then the okie doke with the core papers. I guess McLean Davis, aka Meth, thinks she'll be a better witness than Detective Blanca, but why?
Brian, that was a great observation. McLean and Paula were definitely on their game. The way they served the flowers and served the papers at the same time with the okie doke, the way you put it, that was a good one. So they're trying to bring her to the stand. Why? Because she knows that Tasha was not the kingpin. Now, that's also fraught with a lot of problems. What happens with the situation with Tamika, she's also upset at Tasha still. They never really had a serious overture towards her as far as a money talk or anything like that. And she's just sitting back at home chilling, and she'd rather not be involved with it at this point. And now she's getting dragged in. Then there's confidentiality. So she represented Sachs at one time, and she has to be protected with that information that she got from Sachs. But there are ways that they can work around the system to kind of get it out of her. And I don't know exactly what kind of plan that McLean and Paula have hatched, but it's going to be interesting to find out, because Tamika can definitely be a good witness. She could also cause a lot of damage. Stay tuned, we'll find out.
I just got one question. Is anybody on this show ever faithful? I mean, Courtney Kemp, what's going on, girl? Somebody did you dirty, so now you got to put it in every single relationship. It's crazy. Method Man sleeping with his law associate. Mary J. Blige sleeping with her husband in prison. Police officer at home. No telling who else. The professor screwing every time they get a chance. Professor screwing the students. What's going on?
A tidbit, a smidgen. I don't get the message, so you got to run the pigeon. Straight out of Tribe Called Quest. Man, I had to think hard on that one, Paul Blake. Paul coming out of the Shy. And you know, the Shy doesn't play. You know, they got that hawk always ready to bite you. So he's biting back. I'm thinking about it. Let me see. No. Well, what about no? But maybe, yeah, definitely no. I guess Diana. And really, she hasn't had opportunity to go ahead and be unfaithful to anybody else. But, you know, once she finds out that Tariq is fooling around a little bit, maybe she might be the next one to fall out of line. So we got to find out later on, maybe next week, maybe a couple weeks down the road. But next week, it looks very good. It looks like there's going to be some interaction, but they might just be playing with us, pulling our heartstrings a little bit. So there's definitely a lot of infidelity going on there, and they're definitely trying to keep things nice and spicy. So it is what it is.
PowerWatch Book 2. Here's what I think about it. Sum it up in one word: punk. Tariq didn't fess up to his sister's death. He didn't fess up to his dad's death. And on top of that, he's letting his mother rot in hell. There's going to be a cold cell in hell waiting for him. Punk.
Well, alrighty. VR. Tell them how you really feel. Coming pretty hard, man. And I can't blame you. Because to be honest with you, it seems like you are just now getting caught up on Ghost Book 2 when you made that comment, and everyone felt that same way. If you catch up on a little bit more of the series and check out the next few episodes, I think you'll warm up a little bit more towards the Tariq character. He finds out more about what's going on with his pops, or what went on with his pops and some of the misconceptions he had in that relationship. and he's actually taking a lot of responsibility, and he's showing desperation, drive, ingenuity, intellect, all of that. So those are the things we would have to be looking for in order for them to make this character interesting. So it looks like we gotta give a nod to Cynthia and the crew for doing that. And Paul Blake notwithstanding with the helmet on the infidelity. So, you know, sometimes they gotta give us the good with the bad, and sometimes they gotta give us the spicy with the salty. So until next week, guys, PowerWatch signing off. Love y'all.
Hey out there, Powerheads. Welcome to the 40th episode of the... Damn. You distracted me with the drink. I'm going through withdrawal. All right, so all the variety of different avenues and approaches that everybody had to do with, and excitement, just getting it going all around. We're going to have to edit the shit out of that. So snap and crack, clack and all that. Hey, 2 for price one.